Once you reach a certain age, unwanted hairs start to sprout out of your body. They might be on your face, your legs, or any number of other intimate places that you'd rather keep bald. There's just a slight snag. Most people believe getting the razor out and shaving them off will just cause them to grow back even faster, thicker, and darker than ever. And what about the solitary stragglers? If you take the tweezers to those little suckers, then lots will sprout back in their place.
But is there any evidence that this is really the case? I'm Stu, this is Debunked, and we're here to sort the truths from the myths and the facts from the misconceptions. First, let's take a look at shaving, something I gave up a while ago.
The concept that shaving causes hair to grow back mightier than before was put to the test way back in 1928 by forensic anthropologist Mildred Trotter. 4 men shaved a portion of their faces under controlled conditions. The naturally regrown and shaved hairs were then compared, and the study concluded that shaving had no impact on regrowth. In a more recent study, published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology, doctors conducted a study where 5 healthy young men shaved one of their legs each week for several months. The other leg remained hairy and untouched as a control for the experiment. Other than looking rather stupid in the summer months, shaving was found to have no significant impact on hair regrowth.
So, where did the belief originate? Well, it often starts during our adolescent years, when our bodies are changing and puberty begins to kick in.
Boys begin producing the first evidence of facial hair. In the US, I believe they call it peach fuzz, while us Brits prefer the slightly bizarre term bum fluff. Either way, after their first hazardous shave takes place, the hair usually grows back fuller, and before you know it, they've got a full face of hair. But this is simply a coincidence, because the time you start shaving is also when your body is going through a series of natural hormonal fluctuations, which lead to the development of adult facial and body hair.
The actual act of shaving has no bearing on this, and this process will naturally occur at different rates for everyone.
The fresh hair growth can also appear to be darker, because it's yet to be exposed to the sun or the chemicals and pollutants of everyday life that make your hair lighter. The darker appearance can also be an illusion, as you are now seeing hairs dotted against the backdrop of your normal skin colour.
So, moving on from peachy bum fluff, what about shaving body hair? Now, this can be a concern for both sexes,
because when you first shave away unwanted hair on your legs, back, pits or chest, then the regrowth appears to sprout back coarser and thicker than before.
This occurs because by shaving, you are blunting the end of the hairs.
You see, a human hair is naturally tapered at the end, meaning the most visible part is the thinnest part. When you shave, you are cutting the shaft of hair at its thickest point, and so blunting the end. So it now temporarily appears to be thicker, and with the hairs now sticking straight up from their follicles that clasp firmly around them, they also seem to be much coarser than before. Jor Orsted, chief physician at the Oslo University Hospital, uses this analogy. If you shave off a hair, it does of course get shorter, and a shorter hair is like the stub end of a rope. It's stiffer than a longer segment of rope. If you let it grow out again, you'll see that it's just like it was before being shaved. And in fact, the portion of hair that you shave off is not alive, meaning it can't send any information to the follicle to tell it that it's been cut, so the follicle just continues functioning as before. Although methods like plucking and waxing pull the hair straight out of the follicle. So how does this affect regrowth?
I found a gray hair. Oh, I was going to tweeze, but if you pluck it, 6 more will come to his funeral.
The fact is, 1 hair follicle produces 1 hair. If it appears that 2 are sprouting out from the same point, then it's likely 2 hair follicles have merged together.
Waxing can also change the appearance of hair regrowth, as repeatedly ripping out the hair from your legs and arms changes the actual direction of the hair follicle by pulling it away from its natural grain.
This can result in regrowth appearing fluffier than before. Plucking out or waxing the hair will not cause more to grow back in its place. Surprisingly, it can do quite the opposite.
The act of plucking or waxing tears the hair from its root, and doing this repeatedly can traumatize the follicle. On the human head, if a hair is continuously pulled from an area, then after a while, a message will be sent to the follicle that its services are no longer required. It shrinks and then stops growing hair,
which could unfortunately lead to a bald patch. On a more positive note, according to cosmetic scientist Randy Schuler,
Plucking out a grey hair could, if you're lucky, lead to the replacement one being less grey, as the process that creates your hair colour is not totally consistent from hair to hair.
But generally, the safest thing to do in order to avoid damaging the hair follicle is to carefully snip it off or dye it. Ultimately, if you're in your adolescent years, then I'm afraid that all that unwanted hair will just keep coming back. But shaving it off won't turn you into Bigfoot. Hope you learned something new, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and maybe even share our videos. If you want more myths and misconceptions debunked, then click on the video playing on screen now. Thanks for watching.
The effects of exposure to space differ greatly depending on which movie you're watching.